Chapter 186, Telling the Truth. The wisp light of dawn shined from the east horizon. Tang Xiu got up early since he had planned to go to a driving school today, and then went to see his mother to tell her about his matter. He believed that because of his excellence, his mother would accept it, albeit requiring a little persuading. But as time passed, she would feel happy for having a good and outstanding son. After eating breakfast, he left the villa and walked toward the villa complex's entrance. After nodding and greeting the two security guards, he walked to the sidewalk and calmly waited for a taxi. Honk honk. A car's horn sounded. Tang Xiu looked at the Porsche supercar and saw Long Shuiyao on the driver's seat. Then, he immediately said with a smile, "Are you going out too?" "Yup, gotta take care of something." "Anyway, where are you heading?" "Want a ride?" Long Shuiyao replied and asked with a smile. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "No need. You already have something to do. Besides, I'm just going to find a driving school and use this summer vacation taking the driving license test. It's all right. My matter, it's not that urgent. Besides, there are few taxis passing in this area. If you want to catch a cab this early, you'll have to walk about a kilometer to the commercial street. Come on board. There's a big driving school nearby the place I'm heading. It's a good one, too." Long Shuiyao said with a smile. Tang Xiu asked, "Where are you going?" "The tax bureau." Long Shuiyao said. Tang Xiu nodded, opened the door and sat on the co-pilot's seat. A fragrance smelling of jasmine floated inside as the interior was lovely decorated. Then, he said, "I know that your family name is Long, but I never thought that you're actually Zheng Yu's cousin. I only just heard it from him 2 days ago when we were drinking." Long Shuiyao started the car. Whilst driving with one hand, she said with a smile, "I thought you already knew. By the way, if you need a driver license, I have a way to help you get one directly. So you needn't go there every day." "Eh? This could be done through the back door also?" Tang Xiu was surprised. Immediately, Long Shuiyao couldn't help laughing, saying, "What back door? It's just that you needn't go to the course every day and can directly take the exam. If you feel that you can't pass, you can have someone else take the exam on your behalf. As long as there's some incentive, the official examiner will turn a blind eye. As always, it's the sinful, money-oriented society." Tang Xiu shook his head with a sigh before he said, "If so, then I'll have to trouble you to find someone." "Well, consider it as me owing you a favor for this one. To be honest, I really have a lot of things to do in this summer break, so I don't have much time for studying." Long Shuiyao said with a smile, "No prob anyhow, we'll go to another driving school. I have an acquaintance there." "As you wish." Tang Xiu replied with a nod. Half an hour later, Tang Xiu and Long Shuiyao came out from the driving school. After he paid the registration fee, Long Shuiyao helped him find the driving school's principal. Now, for the following activities, he wouldn't need to take the classes and the driving school would inform him the date of the exam later. "Everything's done, all thanks to you. If you got time later, I'll treat you to a meal," Tang Xiu said. Long Shuiyao replied with a tender smile, "You're my cousin's friend, so you needn't be that polite with me. But since I'm quite free these days, I'll take the offer." Tang Xiu pondered a moment and then said, "All right then, how about tomorrow? I'll call you by then." Long Shuiyao picked up the phone, saying, "Okay, I'll wait for your call." Tang Xiu saved her cell number. After getting a taxi in front of the driving school's entrance, he rushed to his family's restaurant, since he calculated that his mother should also have arrived there. As he had expected, he saw his mother and several waiters placing tables and chairs when he arrived. He felt quite happy as he saw them chat and laugh. "Mom!" Tang Xiu called out. Su Lingyun turned around and was pleasantly surprised upon seeing him. "Xiu. You're finally back. How was it? Had a good time traveling? Tang Shou said, well, it was good. Mom, let Banzhou take care of the restaurant today. I want to take you to a place today. Where are you gonna take me? Su Lingyun asked with a confused expression. Tang Shou said with a faint smile, well, weren't you puzzled by why I became quite mysterious recently? I'll tell you everything today. Su Lingyun hesitated for a moment as she nodded and said, then, let's go. At South Gate Town. As Tang Shou and Su Lingyun got off from the taxi, she looked at the front entrance of South Gate Town and said with a somewhat timid expression, Shou. Why did you brought me here? I know this place. This is South Gate Town. And from the ads, I know this place is the most high-end villa complex, where only the powerful and rich can live. Just look at the security guards at the entrance, they're just like the police standing guard there. Let's leave before they get rid of us. Tang Shou only smiled as he pulled Su Lingyun toward the entrance. The two security guards saluted Tang Shou. The other two security guards inside the post also stood up upon seeing him. Su Lingyun looked at them with astonishment, as she then asked with curiosity, Shou. Looking at their appearance, they seem to know you? You've been here before? Of course, Mom. I've been living here for a while. Come on. I know you're very surprised inside. Wait until we arrive home. I'll tell you about everything. Owning a house here? Su Lingyun was quite scared upon hearing Tang Shou's reply. If they bought a house here, how much would it cost? Along the way, the security patrols unceasingly saluted Tang Shou and Su Lingyun. Even the employees of the property management complex also greeted Tang Shou respectfully. Su Lingyun, who had never seen such a scene, was shocked as though in a trance. Only after she and Tang Shou arrived in front of the villa's entrance did she sober up, as though waking up from a dream. Looking at the grand and beautiful villa that stood magnificently in an excellent location, Su Lingyun subconsciously grabbed Tang Shou's arm and whispered, Shou, you wouldn't be joking with Mom, right? Even when your uncle was still rich he couldn't afford such a big villa. Tang Shou said with a smile, Mom, let's go inside, then you'll understand everything. Tang Shou took her through the villa's door and went straight to the hall. He saw Mu Qingping ready to go out as he called her and said, Big sis Mu, this is my mother, it's her first time coming here. Mom, she's Big sis Mu, our housekeeper. And her daughter is my apprentice. Housekeeper? Apprentice? Su Lingyun was stunned. She had been working for her entire life, but she could never afford a housekeeper. And, what was this apprentice about? Mu Qingping looked at Su Lingyun for a while as she said with a smile, Hello. I've seen your photo in Tang Shou's bedroom. Anyway, you can call me Little Ping. Due to their age, Mu Qingping didn't know how to address Su Lingyun. After all, Su Lingyun was much younger than her, at least 10 years. Her daughter was Tang Shou's apprentice. So, if she called her big sister, she missed the rank by a generation. And if she called her aunt, it was definitely improper. Su Lingyun stared at Mu Qingping blankly before turning to Tang Shou. Only after a long while was she able to speak, Shou. Mom still can't understand everything. Tell me everything. What is all this about in the end? Tang Shou led her for a tour of the villa before bringing her back to the living room. After sitting down, he said, Mom. Recently, I wasn't just spending my time only studying. I also did some business. Firstly, you don't need to be mad and worried. The college entrance test is already over, and I assure you that this won't disturb my studies. You're doing a business? What business? Shou. You mustn't do anything against the law. Su Lingyun was astounded. Tang Shou let out a wry smile and said, Mom, what kind of person do you see me as? I have a lot of businesses, for instance, cosmetics and healthcare products. As the capital for the investment, I'm also drawing architectural designs for others. I know that I've been hiding the truth from you and you're afraid, worrying about my study. I assure you that once the result of the college entrance test has been announced, I'm sure that I'll eligible to enroll in a top university. Su Lingyun was confused. You also draw architectural designs? How don't I know about this? It's an after-school hobby, Mom. Just like how I know about Chinese medicine as well. Tang Shou said. Su Lingyun was silent. She still couldn't fathom what her son had done, for her experience couldn't afford it. After a long while, she looked at Tang Shou and asked, Son, with this business of yours, you can afford to buy a villa in Southgate Town. How much money do you have now? Tang Shou said with a smile, Actually, I didn't buy this villa. I helped my friend solving a big matter, so he gave me this villa. As for the sum of money I currently have, I don't know at the top of my head. But I estimate that I've at least have several 100 million yuan. How much? Su Lingyun jumped up from the sofa as she called out in alarm and disbelief. At least several 100 million. Tang Shou replied. Su Lingyun swallowed a mouthful of saliva. She was truly shocked upon hearing such astronomical number. Even if her restaurant was very good and had a daily income of nearly 10,000 yuan, however, compared to several 100 million, it was just like comparing the day and night. Tang Shou continued with a smile, Mom, we no longer have to worry about money anymore. I have grown up. Not only can I finish my studies with excellent results, I'm even able to create an enterprise. If you don't want to manage the restaurant anymore, you can sell it. But it's also fine if you want to continue managing it. In short, you can live however you wish. I only hope that you can live a well-off, good and happy life in the future. Su Lingyun looked dazed as she looked at Tang Shou. She suddenly realized that her son truly had grown up and no longer needed her protection. He now truly had the ability to support and take care of himself. Woo, woo, sob. Sitting on living room's sofa, Su Lingyun was holding her arms, crying. She recalled her husband, reminiscing the bitter life they had gone through all these years, the grievances. Mom. Just as Tang Shou was about to speak, Mu Qingping stopped him. Mu Qingping then sat down beside Su Lingyun. She held Su Lingyun as she said in a low voice, I, more or less, understand the situation in your family. I also know that you and I are the same. We're mothers who brought up our children alone. I know the sadness and loneliness which only mothers like us feel. I also understand why you're crying. As a mother, you're very happy to see your child having such a good life. But in front of our child, we should smile, we shouldn't cry. Besides, it's a big event, we should celebrate. Don't you think so? Chapter 187, The Closed-Down Winery. Su Lingyun looked up with dim and teary eyes as she nodded repeatedly. A mother's love was as like a mountain. Which mother who didn't hope for their children to have a successful life when they grow up? Each and every one of them would look forward to their children's achievements in the future. And today, despite his young age, her son even had laid down a career for which an average person couldn't achieve for a lifetime, causing her to feel so happy and sweet inside. You're right. Su Lingyun wiped away her tears. She looked at Tang Shou and said, Shou. Mom is very proud of you. Tang Shou cast a grateful look toward Mu Qingping before he replied with a smile, Mom, I'm also very proud of you. The entire morning was spent with Tang Shou accompanying Su Lingyun, telling her as to why he hid things from her. However, he still hid the matter of his return from the immortal world as well as his immortal cultivator identity. He didn't dare to reveal the total assets he had, much less about immortal matters. He also hadn't estimated the wealth he had before. And now, as he recalled, even the value of the isolated island in the Pacific Ocean was around 2 to 3 billion yuan. Shortly before noon, Tang Shou had lunch with Su Lingyun. Looking at Su Lingyun doting on Gu Yin, he smiled and said, "Mom, have you decided to move in with me? If you don't want to sell our old house, it's fine. We'll still take care of the house later. Also, if you don't want to take the test for a driver license, I'll help you find a driver so you can have someone to send and pick you up to work every day." Su Lingyun shook her head and said, "No, I'm used to live there. I definitely won't be able to get used to living here. Son, I won't move for now. Only after you've enrolled in the university will I consider moving. Later on, if you still want to live here, you can. But if you want to, you can also stay there. It's just that the restaurant is much closer from there, so I won't need to take a driver license test or look for a driver." Tang Xiu didn't want to go against his mother's will, but he was also quite reluctant to let her live in their previous house. After hesitating for a while, he then slowly said, "It's all right. I'll arrange a room for you here. So you can come and stay here at any time you want." In the afternoon, he sent Su Lingyun back to the restaurant. When he looked at her smiling face before leaving, she looked several years younger, causing his heart to be particularly satisfied. Tang Xiu arrived at the hotel where Scarblade Chang was staying and just happened to see Kong Xia also arriving. "I just called you about 10 minutes ago, how can you be here so soon?" Tang Xiu asked with a smile. Kong Xia replied, "I just happened to be working on something in the vicinity when you called. Anyway, boss, this manager you found for the winery, on what basis did you pick him?" Tang Xiu himself had heard directly from Scarblade Chang. After telling everything from the beginning, he finally said, he can change his way and turn a new leaf in life. He's a real man. Thus, when I knew that he was also skilled in winemaking, I gave him a chance. If he's able to grasp this chance, naturally, it wouldn't be a problem to have a rapid advancement in life. If he can't fully utilize this chance and his performance is bad, you, as his direct superior, have the right to dismiss him directly. Kong Xia said with a smile, "Since you gave me the rights and privileges, I'm very relieved." "Ah, right. I've looked over some information this morning about some wineries in Star City. I think one of them is quite good, but I haven't had the time to have a thorough investigation as well as going to the site. But this winery is going to be closed down soon, so if we can have a buyout for it, it will save us quite the trouble. You and Scarblade Chung take care of this matter. I have very important things to take care in the next few days, so I can't be bothered with the setting of the winery as well as managing the business. If you're short on money, give me a call, and I'll find some way to work it out." Kong Xia let out a tender smile and said, "I won't need the funds for some time. But you truly have the ability, boss. I can see that you actually don't even need me to run the company since you can think of a way to when we're short on money. You can even get quite a lot of it." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "No, I'll need quite a huge sum of money. Let alone a billion, even tens of billions yuan won't be enough for me. In short, I have to make money as much as possible since it would greatly affect my cultivation practice." "Ah. So you're thinking up of every possible means to make money only for your cultivation later?" Kong Xia was astounded. Tang Xiu nodded and said, "Yes, my cultivation speed will be faster when I have enough resources. I'm now in a dire need of cultivation resources. Fortunately, my cultivation level isn't yet high for now, I can barely gather it up. But after my cultivation realm has reached higher levels, the resources I'll need will increase. So, without huge financial support, it will be difficult to speed up my cultivation." "Okay, then, I'll work hard." Kong Xia nodded and said, "I believe you." Tang Xiu said with a confident smile. With a confused expression, Kong Xia asked, "Why do you have so much confidence in me?" Tang Xiu replied with a smile, "Of course I do. You're helping me make money. For that, I even gave you the shares as well as urged you to start cultivating. So naturally you'll also need a lot of resources. If you want to become stronger, you must have massive cultivation resources, which in turn, we also have to make money faster. Kang Xia couldn't help but feel at a loss whether she had to be amused or cry as she said, "So you taught me a cultivation technique, just for that purpose? AI, you truly boarded me on a pirate ship." Tang Xiu teased her, "But still, you have the opportunity to disembark." Kang Xia firmly shook her head and replied, "No, disembarking will not prevent me from dying. I want to be the celestial being as in fables." Tang Xiu called Scarblade Chang in the lobby's hall, telling him that he was waiting for him there. Shortly after, Scarblade Chang had rushed down from upstairs. However, when he saw Kang Xia, he fell into a daze once again upon seeing such a beauty. He was as though someone who was having a hard time as he looked at her foolishly. Only after a while did he finally recover with an embarrassed and awkward expression. "She's Kang Xia, the general manager of my company. She'll be your direct superior. Do bear in mind that her words will be my words. And she will delegate every task on my behalf. If your performance isn't good enough or she's not satisfied with your work, she has the right to dismiss you. Everyone loves beauties, even heroes would find it difficult to pass through them." Scarblade Chen was enchanted by Kang Xia's beauty, but Tang Xiu didn't bother to care about it. He only told him about Kang Xia's identity with a tone of warning in his words. Scarblade Cheng's face turned solemn as he said seriously, "Worry not, boss. Since you gave the chance and brought me here from a faraway place, I assure you that I won't make you lose face." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "Kang Xia, we'll go to the winery you told me. If it's really good and we can buy it with a low price, then we'll set up our winery there. As for the recipe, I'll tell Scarblade Chang directly. I'll buy the machinery for wine production after the site has been determined." Kang Xia asked, "Boss, have you considered about the sales aspect for the wines we're going to produce? We'll take the same route with our cosmetics and healthcare products. Open our exclusive chain stores in each city and take the high-end line. As for the price per bottle, it must be set at above 5 digits." Kang Xia exclaimed, "Wouldn't it be too high a price?" Tang Xiu replied confidently, "It won't be. You'll find out later." At present, Kang Xia was not driving her Lamborghini, but a Mercedes-Benz, while Scarblade Chang acted as a driver, causing the latter to smile wryly inside. Sister Meyer Winery. It was an old winery in Star City, and was a state-owned enterprise. Because of the poor management, it was sold to the private sector by the government. The winery was located in the Old River Street district. Except for the recycling center in the vicinity, the surrounding itself was a cropland, while the road leading this place was supposed to head to this winery. After the Mercedes-Benz parked in front of the winery, they got off from the car and walked toward the door. "It's locked?" After looking at the big rusty iron lock, he looked at Kang Xia with a confused expression. Kang Xia's brows also deeply wrinkled as she said with a puzzled expression, "I found about this winery from the internet and haven't investigated this site before. So I don't know much about the situation. Should we find someone to inquire about it?" The exact moment she said that, a plump-bellied old man wearing big pants and a singlet was taking a stroll whilst carrying a big pipe. Kang Xia quickly walked toward him and asked, "Uncle, do you know why this Sister Meyer winery is locked?" The old man stopped walking. He glanced at the Kang Xia trio a few times before snappily replying, "What other reason can it be? That wretched boss pocketed the workers' wages and even made bad wines. So the business was just dumped. This old man was a guard here before, and he still owes me almost half a year's wage. Since the winery has been closed, then, who's the owner now?" Kang Xia asked with a puzzled expression. The old man let out a curse. "That bastard ran away. He was so much drowned in debt that, before he ran away, someone killed. The government has taken over the winery, but only God knows when someone will buy this winery." Kang Xia was surprised. The government has taken the winery back? Was it because the last owner owed the government? The old man said the last winery's owner evaded tax, to begin with. After he went bankrupt, only then the government found about it, so the authorities confiscated it.
Ah.
Right, what's your business here? Kang Xia said, we're investigating the situation with this winery since we're planning to invest in the liquor business. So we're taking a look at this Sister Meyer winery. But we didn't expect that everything to be gone when we came here. Anyways, thanks for telling us, uncle. The old man waved his hand and took his big pipe away. Kang Xia then looked at Tang Xiu and asked, well, what should we do now, boss? Shall we negotiate with the government? Tang Xiu nodded and said, yes, negotiate with the government and try to buy this winery under the market price. If your personal network is not enough, contact Long Zhengyu. He's the local boss here. It would be wasteful if I can't use this resource. Kang Xia covered her mouth as she laughed and replied. To think that Long Zhengyu would have such a friend. It's truly his bad luck. But what you said makes sense. I'll call him now and try to buy this winery at the lowest price. However, this winery is very old, and even though it's very large, it's quite dilapidated. I'm afraid we'll have to renovate and even rebuild it if we're going to use it. Tang Xiu said, then push the reconstruction for the site. Use everything remaining that can still be used and deal with the rest that can't be recovered. After everything has been completed, we'll think about the issue with the wine sales later. Chapter 188, Crisis Foreboding. Shortly after, Tang Xiu didn't bother himself with the winery issue. However, he had bought a number of materials to make wine in the storehouse. His winemaking method was very special since he used a lot of herbs and fruits aside the grains. But the main problem in brewing wines was time. It took at least several days only to ferment the grain, making the fruit into jams and boiling the herbs before the truly good wines could be brewed. However, after everything had been bought, he realized that he had no money left. The first day he got the 2.5 billion, he paid the 2 billion debt to Qin Jizhong and gave 300 million yuan to Kang Xia, while the remaining 200 million was given to Chu Yi to pay the medicinal herbs he bought. I have to think of a means to raise money. The early work for winemaking had been completed. Tang Xiu was standing in the storehouse, thinking with a helpless expression. Recently, he had to take care of a lot of things, but each and every matter needed money. He had the thought of selling a cultivation practice, but he also had dug out nearly all the money Xiaomingzhen and Miao Wendong had. Even if he wanted to sell it, he couldn't find a suitable buyer. The other cultivator he knew was Dao Master Zi, but he was a penniless Taoist. Even if he sacrificed everything, Tang Xiu didn't know as for how much money he could squeeze out. Borrow some money? The thought popped up inside Tang Xiu's mind, but he straightly tossed it away. Knock, knock. The storehouse's door was knocked as Gu Yin came inside with an anticipating expression. She looked at Tang Xiu and said, Master, Ini needs a tutorial and a working notebook, so I need to go out to buy them. But Mom is still attending her course class and has no time to accompany me. Could you go with me to the stationery shop? Tang Xiu said with a smile, all right, we'll go now. He had no money right now, but it was enough to buy tutorial and homework books. Also, Gu Yin's study was important, while he was also waiting for the fermentation process to be finished. Temporarily, he couldn't continue the winemaking process, so he had nothing to do for now. Tang Xiu left South Gate Town along with Gu Yi. Just as he came out of the villa complex's entrance, his keen sense perceived a menacing feeling. The feeling gave him a kind of faint restlessness. It was as if there was a pair of eyes that was tightly locked and staring at him from a dark corner. Have I offended anyone recently? Tang Xiu frowned. He glanced around with a casual manner a few times and pulled Gu Yin closer to him. No matter what danger would come, he could never let Gu Yin be injured even if he himself would be injured. A few minutes later when Tang Xiu and Gu Yin arrived at the nearby commercial street, the feeling disappeared without a trace. However, he didn't put down his vigilance. After accompanying Gu Yin to buy the tutoring and homework book, he quickly walked her back home. Half an hour later, Tang Xiu quietly left the villa. He didn't go out from the main entrance but from the back entrance and straightly headed to the small hillside. He bypassed the complex in a circle and came out quietly from the woods. With his sharp eyes, he constantly observed the surroundings. Tang Xiu changed his clothes and quickly appeared again near the front entrance of Southgate Town. However, he quickly hid behind a tree and quietly searched the unknown enemies. Inside a building, a kilometer away from Tang Xiu, two men were standing before the window and holding a military-grade binocular, observing the buildings in Southgate. One of them was Wang Ming, and there were 4 other men who were drinking and chatting behind them. Wang Ming put his binocular down as he looked at the leaning man, saying, "Chief Wolf, we already investigated the other party's identity. He's not an evil man. And even though he's young, he has such big business and also very powerful abilities. Is it still necessary to keep monitoring him? Besides, he only gave us 3 days." Wolfhead said, "We did investigate him. But the information is not accurate. Don't be deceived by his appearance, he's very sophisticated and out of ordinary. When he took that little girl out of Southgate Town's front entrance before, he had already sensed that some people were monitoring him. I'm not sure whether he perceived our presence or sensed the presence of another group." Wang Ming was surprised. "There are also other people surveilling on him?" Wolfhead pointed to the northwest direction and replied lightly, "Do you see that small stall on the street selling liangpi? I bought the noodles from that stall this morning. The seller looks very ordinary, but I'm sure he's a ruthless person. Also, according to my observation, there were only 3 people who bought from it yesterday even though the stall was opened all day. 2 of them casually took some but they didn't even pay for it. As for the other one, it was a middle-aged woman with her child, but she didn't buy anything." Wang Ming's mind worked and quickly asked, "You mean, they are in disguise and will do something against Tang Xiu?" Wolfhead nodded and said, "If my deduction is correct, they should be. I want to see this show. I don't know whether he will die or those assassins will encounter bad luck." "We won't help him?" Wang Ming asked. Wolfhead replied with a sneer, "If he can't solve this little problem, what qualification does he have to become our superior?" Wang Ming said, "So, if he really can drive away these enemies, are we really going to follow and work for him? These assassins are lurking in and from the dark. They are very dangerous. If we brothers were to come across them, we would also die if not careful enough. If he can solve this, it explains that he's very powerful. So it's possible for us to work for him. However, I still can't figure out why and what for he wants us to work him." Wang Ming nodded and no longer spoke. He was also anticipating, looking forward to Tang Xiu's next actions and performance. Wolfhead lifted his binocular again. When he looked at the outside, toward the front entrance of Southgate Town, his brows raised immediately and said with a low voice and strange expression, "Take a look and pay attention to the big tree on the left side, around 65 meters from the complex's front entrance." I've never thought that he would slip out of the villa complex quietly and observe the enemies in secret. Well, he also should have realized that there's something wrong with the liangpi stall. Wang Ming quickly raised his binocular and could clearly see Tang Xiu moving from the tree to the sideways and heading straight toward the liangpi stall. Stupid. He already went this far, and if the other party take a direct shot at him, he'll be dead even if he has 10 lives. After Wang Ming saw the situation, he immediately spoke in a low voice. Wolfhead said, "Continue observing." Near the front entrance of Southgate Town, Tang Xiu came over to the stall that sold liangpi noodles. As his sharp eyes looked at the middle-aged owner, he lightly said, "Give me 2 liangbi, and pack them." The middle-aged man said with a smile, "All right, please wait a bit." He glanced quickly to the distant corner as he lifted his left hand to scratch the back of his head. Then, he slowly worked to make liangbi noodles. Tang Xiu himself had released his perception to envelop the radius of 200 meters. He only looked at the middle-aged man's action, but in the radius of his perception, a man and a woman disguised as a couple quickly appeared within his surveillance scope. Assassins? 3 of them? Tang Xiu's eyes narrowed. He was already prepared to act. Regardless of whoever wanted to kill him, he wouldn't show mercy. "Boss, I won't buy the liangbi." After having said that, Tang Xiu turned around to leave. The middle-aged owner frowned as a dangerous glint flashed from his eyes instantly. In the next split second, his hand grabbed a gun on his waist and aimed the muzzle at Tang Xiu. As the finger pulled the trigger, bang! A gunfire sounded. But the middle-aged owner's face changed greatly in an instant, because his shot that was supposed to hit didn't even hit the target, as even his sight was blurred and lost sight of Tang Xiu. Hiss! Along with the whooshing sound, the middle-aged owner could only feel a cold breath on his neck, as his neck had already been pinched. Tang Xiu stood behind him as he whispered near his ears, "Don't act rashly or I'll immediately break your neck." "Tell me, who the hell wants me dead?" The middle-aged owner's body turned stiff. He wanted to turn around but found that he couldn't move his neck, causing him to panic. His lips shivered a few times as he replied astringently, "I don't know. I'm just a hitman. As long as I'm contracted, I receive information on the target, finish them off and take the money." "I believe you. Don't move. I can tell that the couple over there should also be your comrades, yes? They're also armed, so that means some people really take me seriously, to think that they even send 3 assassins to kill me. Tell me, how much did they pay for my head?" Tang Xiu said with a sneer. Five million. We were paid 5 million each. A total of 15 million. The middle-aged owner replied in a panic. "There should also be a middleman between you and your employer, no? Since the 3 of you got 15 million, I can tell that my head is much more valuable. Gimme the contact of your middleman." Tang Xiu nodded and said, 13814. The middle-aged owner blurted out a cell phone number. Tang Xiu casually broke the middle-aged owner's neck as he used his hand to prop up his shoulder, whilst watching the man and woman who were getting closer without batting an eye. At the moment, the man and woman were seemingly aware that something was amiss as they directly stopped 20 meters away from the stall. "Good vigilance." Tang Xiu smiled coldly. He took the middle-aged owner's pistol and shot a few bullets toward the man and woman, who were still 20 meters away, without a moment's hesitation. He hadn't used a gun before, but since he had his spiritual sense locked on them, his finger pulled the trigger as the bullet instantly hit them. Blood sprayed out as though a blooming peach blossom, as bright red flowers bloomed from the man and woman's foreheads. 2 shots and 2 dead. Tang Xiu didn't leave the pistol and straightly stuffed it into his jacket's pocket. He used his sleeves to cover his face and quickly disappeared to a nearby stall lightning fast.
Ah!
Murder! Screams resounding in the vicinity. A young beautiful woman who was carrying a bag heard the gunshot and then saw a man and woman drowned in a pool of blood, causing her to fall into panic. The moment after she shouted, she quickly ran away. The 4 security guards at the front entrance of Southgate Town hurriedly rushed out the instant they heard the gunshot sound, and flashed toward the direction of the Liangbi stall. Chapter 189, Threats. In the building 1,000 meters away, Wolfhead and Wang Ming could see clearly what was happening in the Liangbi stall through their binoculars. They had never thought that Tang Xiu would kill very decisively. He even dared shoot and kill in today's society, which was governed by law. He's good and very smart. A splendor flashed from Wolfhead's eyes, looking at Tang Xiu's back as he disappeared. Huh? Why do you say that? Wang Ming asked with knitted brows. Wolfhead said indifferently, he broke the neck of that stall's owner, grabbing his pistol, shooting and killing the other 2 hitmen. But he didn't throw the pistol away but took it with him. Also, did you see his footsteps? He's running with the tip of his toes, which means he's perfectly aware that once the cops arrive at the scene they will carry out the investigation. And the most basic step of investigation is to scan the footprints on the ground. In addition, the fact that he was seen going out of the front entrance of Southgate Town before will be found in the police's investigation. And if his footprints were to be compared with the ones at the scene, then he will be exposed. Wang Ming nodded and exclaimed in admiration as he said, "Damn, to think that he didn't enlist in the army. It's really a waste of talent." Wolfhead shook his head and said, "No, he's not suitable to be a soldier." "Why is that?" Wang Ming asked in surprise. Wolfhead replied, "He's too ruthless, and won't stop at nothing. As such, he's not suitable for the military discipline. Once he join the army and become a soldier like us, he will create big troubles." Wang Ming nodded and continued asking, "Then, what should we do next? Cooperate with the police to arrest him?" Wolfhead looked deeply at Wang Ming and replied with a cold and detached expression, "Why should we? We're no longer the government's tools. We've been stripped off our uniform, there's no need to involve ourselves with this. Don't forget that we have shaken off the people who were tailing us, which even made us enter Star City secretly. Do you want to expose our whereabouts again?" For a moment, Wang Ming fell into silence as he replied with a bitter expression, "I know. If we are to appear, we will definitely become the target of the state's monitoring." Wolfhead said with a sneer, "We'll see Tang Xiu's next moves. If he can get through this hurdle perfectly and there's no more trouble following, then it proves that he has the capital and abilities, and is worthy of us following him. If he gets into trouble and cannot meet my expectations, then every one of us will go home." "Understood." Wang Ming nodded silently. Wolfhead was also silent for a moment. Then, he turned around as he put his binocular on the table. With a deep tone, he said, "Continue the surveillance here, I'll go out first. Chief Wolf, you're personally going to investigate him, aren't you? This guy is ruthless and merciless. If something goes wrong and he acts against you," Wang Ming quickly said. "If he misunderstood me and I don't even have the ability to defend myself, I suppose that he won't be in need of such garbage like us to begin with. All right, wait here until I come back." Wolfhead replied with indifference. "The trees might long for peace, but the wind will never cease, just like the world will change whether one wants it or not." Tang Xiu himself was also unable to clearly figure out the people who hated him to the bones, whom even sent 3 powerful assassins to kill him. But he was no pushover. He had always lived with the creed that if someone didn't mess with him then he also would do the same toward them. After he left the Liangpi stall, he didn't return to Southgate Town, but circled around to the other place and hid. Then, he took out his cell phone and dialed the number the Liangpi stall's owner gave him. Tut, tut. The call was connected but the other side didn't speak. After 10 seconds of silence, only then did Tang Xiu slowly speak, "I'm Tang Xiu. I'll give 10 times the payment of whoever gave you for the answer I want." Are they dead?" A low and deep voice finally came out of the phone. "Yes. All of them," Tang Xiu said. The man on the phone fell silent again. This time, he was silent for half a minute before he slowly said, "Transfer 200 million yuan to my account. I don't want more trouble, so I want you to sort this out properly. The number of the account is..." Tang Xiu squinted his eyes and then dialed Kong Xia's number. He just gave her 300 million, and the money hadn't been used yet. Then, he immediately said, "Transfer 200 million to this account immediately, and fast." Kong Xia smiled wryly and said, "Huh? What do you want it for, boss? We only have a little money and it's already very difficult, and you? Tang Xiu interrupted with a deep tone, no more talk and don't ask, just immediately send the money. Understood. Kong Xia complied quickly and sent 200 million yuan into the bank account according to Tang Xiu's order. In the afternoon, the property management office just sent an express delivery to the villa. Tang Xiu, who was waiting for the news, quickly took the delivery and then read it. The contents caused a dense murderous intent inside his heart to arise. Zhang Deqin? Tang Xiu remembered this woman's appearance. When he went to kick the Rising Dragon Martial School's plaque and took 100 million yuan. The next day, Zhang Deqin also sent a video, saying she was not in the town so she really couldn't see him. She solemnly apologized to him and guaranteed that she wouldn't cross with him again. It was only a small grudge. Tang Xiu didn't take it seriously and didn't put it to the heart. Since the other party had apologized, he also didn't want to go further as to clean up the siblings. But he had never thought that this Zhang Deqin would unexpectedly seek revenge over small grudges. To think that she even spent 20 million to hire assassins to kill him. That night, Tang Xiu quietly went to Long Zhengyu's residence. The night was already late, but since the entire building was still brightly lit, he was sure that Long Zhengyu hadn't slept yet. As he released his perception, he was at a loss whether he should be amused or cry upon seeing that Long Zhengyu was working on the bed with more than one opponent at this moment. Damn, this guy. Tang Xiu was hiding under the dark shade of the tree in the villa's courtyard. After staying motionless for 10 minutes, he saw that Long Zhengyu's fight had been finished. Only then did he pick up a stone and strongly threw it toward the bedroom's window on the second floor. Gotcha. The bedroom's window glass on the second floor was smashed. On the soft bed, Long Zhengyu had just stood up with a satisfied expression and was about to take bath. When he suddenly saw that his bedroom's window glass was smashed, his complexion changed greatly and quickly pulled over his pajamas and put them on. He ran to the window and looked outside and shouted at the same time, "Who is it?" Tang Xiu came out of the shade as he faced him and waved, and then quickly retreated. After seeing Tang Xiu clearly, Long Zhengyu's complexion was blank for a moment. Never in his wildest dreams had he ever expected that the one who would smash his villa's window turned out to be Tang Xiu, because he had never told him this address. However, he still went out quickly. As he looked at Tang Xiu under the shade of the tree, he said with a wry smile, "Brother Tang, have I ever done anything that offended you? It's very late. You don't sleep, yet you come to my house only to break my window. What's up with you?" Tang Xiu said, "I have something that needs your help with." Long Zhengyu rolled his eyes and snapped, "Instead of smashing my house's windows, why didn't you call me directly?" "What's that for?" "Damn. Fortunately, you smashed it just now. If it were a few minutes earlier I could have ended up being impotent because of fright." Tang Xiu replied with light laugh, "Well, I still have the drugs to treat impotence." Long Zhengyu was at a loss whether he had to be angry or laugh as he said, "All right, let's cut the crap. Don't boast. Quickly tell me, what is it that you want my help?" A colorful glint flashed from Tang Xiu's eyes as he asked, "It's about your Long family and this Star City's Zhang family. Do you have some discord or grudge with them?" "Zhang family?" For a moment, Long Zhengyu stared blankly. Then, he shook his head and said, "We have no grudges, and it could be said that we're only rivals even though there have been some small frictions between us in secret." Tang Xiu was silent for a moment before he asked, "What will the Zhang family do if Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin die?" Long Zhengyu froze, and then asked with a horrified expression, "What do you want to do exactly?" Tang Xiu replied with a cold and grim expression, "The siblings must die. So, answer me." With a disbelieving expression, Long Zhengyu looked at Tang Xiu and spoke in a low voice, "Brother Tang, you've got to think this through carefully. The Jing family has resided in Star City for decades and has deep roots here. Even if my Long family wants to affront them, we'll also pay quite the price. Once you killed them, the Zhangs surely will go all out to retaliate. Tang Xiu replied, the reason as to why I come to you is also considering the consequences of suffering retaliation from the Zhang family. I only want to ask you now, if Chen Shizhong and your Long family were to join forces in this, will you able to deal with them, or not? Long Zhengyu thought for a moment as he said with a wry smile, that will be very difficult also. At the most, we'll only be able to beat them. Tang Xiu pondered for a moment and then slowly said, what if external forces were to be involved? Is it possible? Long Zhengyu was surprised, and said, you mean other forces from outside of Star City? Such as Chu Yi's and Bai Tao's families, or the Ouyang family? Tang Xiu said, yes, if they can also be counted. Long Zhengyu was excited inside and quickly said, if they're willing to join hands in this, the Zhang family will surely be exterminated. However, Chu Yi's and Bai Tao's families are from Beijing. They also have a lot of hostile forces who are vying at them. If their two families are on the big move, the other families who are in hostile relationship with them surely will seize the chance. The Ouyang family might be able to participate. But do you think Ouyang Lulu will be able to call the shots? Tang Xiu said, we needn't bring Chu Yi and Bao Tao in his matter. I'll deal with the Ouyang family, but I need you to gather a thorough information about the Zhangs in these 2 days. I'll see you in the next 2 days and we'll talk about this again. No problem, I'll give you the complete information as fast as possible. But you must not, by any means, make a move on them earlier. If the Zhangs have really provoked you, I'll send some people to pack up the Zhang siblings, to make them properly apologize to you, and then you can vent your anger on them. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, no need. After having said that, Tang Shi no longer stayed as he jumped over the wall under Long Zhengyu's gaze. At the dusky trail in the spacious block, Tang Xiu had left Long Zhengyu's residence, but the foreboding crisis inside his heart was yet to disappear. Although he had killed 3 hitmen, but he still sensed that someone was watching him in the dark. However, even after he used his perception to envelope the surrounding, he still couldn't find the enemy's presence. It's an expert. Tang Xiu was sure that the other party was absolutely an expert in surveillance. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to keep a constant distance from the beginning and secretly spying on him. Was it in the park? Tang Xiu's footsteps stopped at the front entrance of the park. His mind and perception was racing, and along with it, he leaned on the side wall and immediately climbed over it and entered the park to disappear amidst the woods. He needed to pull out this person who was hiding in the dark, or else he wouldn't be freed from worries and unable to have a peaceful time. Chapter 190, Front. Hundreds of meters away. Wolfhead put down his binoculars as a glint of vigilance flashed from his eyes. He could tell that Tang Xiu had realized something but was unsure if he himself had been found or not. Cautiously, he quickly circled to the other side of the park and quietly approached. A few minutes later, Wolfhead appeared in the grove. As though a shadow in the dark, he quietly arrived at the wall where Tang Xiu was moments before. As he squatted on the ground, he quickly observed the footprints on the ground. It seemed to be heading to another direction. Huh? It's gone. He lost Tang Xiu's footprints under a tree. Just as he turned to search again, his complexion greatly changed as he suddenly dashed to bolt away. Whoosh! A figure fell from above in front of him. With a cold and detached expression, Tang Xiu looked at Wolfhead. Even though he had a gun strapped on his waist, he didn't have the intention to use it. To him, his own martial strength was his biggest tool for killing. Following me all the way here was quite hard, wasn't it? Wolfhead instantly retreated a few meters back. But he didn't turn around to run away. Instead, he stared at Tang Xiu as though a hungry wolf as he said with a sinking tone, only a few people are able to track me back in the entire world. I don't know how you were able to find me. Someone who has experienced many life and death situations will develop a particularly keen sense of danger. The murderous intent within you is very heavy, which says that the number of people who have died in your hands was at least 100. Judging from your reaction when you observed the footprints and retreated back at the same time, I can tell that you're also someone who has been walking on the path of death. Tang Xiu said apathetically. I've investigated you. You're just an ordinary student from the information I've gotten. Even if you have some powerful aspects compared to others, you just graduated from high school and have just started your own business. But, I can't fathom your skills as well as how you can kill without even batting an eye. I'll never believe that someone is born with such great strength, nor I believe that one could have such inborn cold-blooded disposition. Can you explain this to me? Puzzled, Wolfhead replied. You're not qualified. Tang Xiu shook his head and said. Wolfhead squinted his eyes. His body tightened instantly as he spoke with a sinking tone, regardless of if I have the qualification or not, it's still unbeknownst to us. If you can win me, I'll consider agreeing with your condition. My condition? Tang Xiu was surprised and distracted for a moment. At this moment, Wolfhead suddenly moved as his fist flew at him. As he lifted his arms, his fist flew, creating sharp and whooshing sounds of wind and instantly smashed at Tang Xiu's face. His speed already surpassed that of a human's, even Tang Xiu himself dared not to take it lightly. Go back. However, Tang Xiu's speed also some points faster than him. Using his fist to meet head-on with Wolfhead's, his body shook, but it didn't push him back, whereas Wolfhead stepped back for 7 to 8 steps. Only after retreating staggeringly was he able to stabilize his body. What a strength! Wolfhead's right hand was trembling as he looked at Tang Xiu with disbelief and exclaimed in astonishment. Your strength is also quite powerful. I didn't expect yours also exceed 1,000 pounds. If my guess is right, you should be a Qigong practitioner, right? In addition, you also have cultivated your true Qi and reached the small accomplishment level. Even those so-called martial arts grandmasters could die within a short time if they were to have a life-and-death fight with you. Wolfhead admittedly smiled. His body dashed again toward Tang Xiu. And this time, he was still waving his fist as before and punched at Tang Xiu's face. However, his footwork and stance were different from before. The moment his fist was about to hit Tang Xiu, he instantly rotated his footwork and changed into a peculiar direction as his punch swung toward Tang Xiu's left next, in a strange trajectory. Humph. Tang Xiu coldly snorted, his hands moved lightning fast and instantly blocked Wolfhead's strike. Either close combat fight or fighting experience, he was 1,000 times stronger than Wolfhead, for he had experienced countless battles. The neurons and nerves all over his body had all entered a combat state. Along with the retracting movement of his footwork, Wolfhead tried to strike again, but ultimately could resist no longer. He had no choice but to go all out to withstand and dodge Tang Xiu's attack. Bang! Wolfhead's arms were dislocated with Tang Xiu's shadow kick. He paled as an acute burning pain assaulted him as he staggeringly moved backward and shouted loudly, "Stop!" Tang Xiu stopped attacking. He stood about 4 to 5 meters away from him as he said indifferently, "You still have your Mitsubishi Army knife, no? Why don't you use it and then talk?" Wolfhead forced out a smile and shook his head with a sigh. Wang Ming said that you're very strong and he had no chance to even fight back. He was trained personally by me, so I know what he's capable of. I didn't believe him at first, but now I have to admit that you're very strong. My arms are dislocated, I'm not able to fight anymore. So, you're the Wolfhead? Tang Xiu asked with knitted brows. Yes. Wolfhead replied with a wry smile. Very punctual you're for coming to Star City within the 3 days deadline. I want to ask you. Are you related with those assassins? Tang Xiu relaxed his nerves and asked. No. After we investigated you, we discovered that you were also under the surveillance of another group. Those people are clearly well-trained assassins, 2 of them were not even from our country. We've investigated about them. They came from abroad with the sole purpose of killing you. Wolfhead shook his head and replied. So, your intention was to use them to test my strength, yes? Tang Shou said. I did. If you can't even solve this hurdle, what qualifications do you have to become our superior? Wolfhead admitted and said. Then, what do you think after you've personally experienced my strength? Tang Shou nodded and said. I only have one request. If you can find the mastermind behind this and thoroughly solve this problem, our team will work under you. Said Wolfhead. So be it. Tang Shou said. However, I ought to tell you beforehand. We might bring some troubles once we join you. We have quite particular identities, and it's very difficult for average people to face us, so we're also under surveillance. Some people started spying on us the moment we came to Star City. We too have the intention to shake off these people and quietly finish them off. Wolfhead replied with hesitation. People from the state? Tang Shou's brow pricked and inquired further. Yes, Special Task Force. Wolfhead nodded and said. No problem for me. You all have already been stripped off from your previous identities. Besides, your assignment won't be in the mainland. Tang Shou said. We'll go abroad? Wolfhead asked with a surprised expression. Yes. I've bought a private island in the Pacific Ocean. And I need some people to protect the fort there. You have sufficient strength and should be capable enough of keeping the security there. Tang Shou said. With a surprised expression, Wolfhead looked at Tang Shou and said with a low voice, Are you going to create your own private armed forces? Yes. Tang Shou nodded with a deadpan expression. It's fine with us. This is our specialty to begin with. But, can you tell me what kind of treatment you'll give us? It depends on the type of relation you'll have with me. If you truly become my people, and if you can become a death squad hell-bent on following my orders, whatever it is, naturally, you'll have the best treatment you can think of. You can be sure to even have your dreams come true. But it's also fine if you want to become one of the ordinary ranks under me. You'll have good treatment, but surely, with some disparities with the previous ones. Tang Shou said lightly. You're very ambitious, it seems. Your condition and your ambition kinda makes me scared. Wolfhead replied with a deep tone as he looked at Tang Shou deeply. Tang Shou replied with a sneer, If that's not enough for you, then, when you're able to destroy this planet with only one punch, nobody will be able to threaten you by then. Wolfhead couldn't help but shake his head and smile. Destroying Earth with only one fist? What was this? A damn joke? If one is able to destroy the Earth with only a punch, isn't he able to traverse the universe freely? After chiding him inside a few times, he looked at Tang Shou and said, For now, what kind of troops we want to be is not important, for you must first prove your strength before we talk again. Well, just wait for the show. Tang Shou turned around and walked toward the park's fence. Half an hour later. Inside a building a kilometer away from Southgate Town. The door was knocked gently 7 times in a rhythmic sound. After that, the door was opened from the inside. Inside the room. Wang Ming was still with the binoculars in his hand as he looked at Wolfhead, who was coming inside with a pale face, and then asked with a surprised expression, What happened to you, Chief? I just exchanged some blows with Tang Shou. You did say the truth, he's truly powerful. The one and only expert I've never seen in my life. All right, help me fix my dislocated arms now. Under the gaze of the 5 men inside the room, Wolfhead said with a bitter and astringent smile. The rest of the men inside the room were greatly taken aback. They looked at Wolfhead's dislocated arms with disbelief, and their heartbeat sped up as well as palpitated. Wolfhead was the strongest amongst them, but he was also unable to contend with Tang Xiu, even half his arms were dislocated by him. Then, to what extent Tang Xiu's strength reached? At present. Amongst them, perhaps only Wang Ming knew Tang Xiu's strength. He forced out a bitter smile and quickly helped Wolfhead connect his arm's bones and said, "Actually, I've already guessed that Chief Wolf isn't Tang Xiu's opponent. That fellow's speed, strength and reaction speed can only be called as terrifying. Even if I go all out, I'm still unable to touch his sleeves. He's very strong," Wolfhead said. With hesitation, Wang Ming asked, "Chief Wolf, what have you discussed with him?" "I've explicitly told him that if he can completely solve this problem and prove his strength, then we'll follow him later. If he can't, then it's not worth it for us to do so. Also, he told me that we won't stay in the mainland once we work under him," Wolfhead replied. We won't stay in the mainland? Where will we go then?" Wang Ming asked with a confused expression. "He said that he had bought a private island in the Pacific Ocean, so he wants us to keep the security of the island. He wants to set up his own private army," Wolfhead said. "Private armed force? What is he planning to do?" Wang Ming asked in wonder. Wolfhead shook his head and said, "I don't know about it either."